Congressman, based off of your understanding of what you've learned about this case and certainly what the mayor has offered publicly, have you come to a conclusion, or are you coming to a conclusion that he was targeted, as the mayor said?
He was absolutely targeted. And the idea that Secretary Noem would come before our Homeland Security Committee hearing and attempt to turn it around on him and on members of Congress that sit in that committee is despicable. I mean, he came to do oversight on a facility. He was told to leave, and otherwise they'd arrest him. He left, and they closed the gate and then opened the gate after talking to who knows who, and then came back and arrested him. They're wanting to make sure that the American people know that they're willing to go after anyone. This is about fear. This is what authoritarians do, fascists do. They go after judges, members of Congress, and mayors of their own city.
I'm struck by the fact that we were just talking about the 14th Amendment, and in some of the filings today, Dugan's motion to dismiss, she references the 10th Amendment. Let me read you just a little bit from that. The government's prosecution of Judge Dugan is virtually unprecedented and entirely unconstitutional. It violates the 10th Amendment and fundamental principles of federalism and comity reflected in that amendment and in the very structure of the United States Constitution. I think it is easy to see these things in silos when in reality there is a connective tissue between all of it, which is this administration is going piece by piece through the U.S. Constitution and finding opportunities to dismantle it. The fact that there are challenges to the 14th Amendment, to the 10th Amendment, to the 4th Amendment, I mean, it becomes a more holistic picture of an administration that believes it can contend with the Constitution not through valid avenues.
Well, to me, the really striking thing about this, it was only a few months ago, President Trump's first day in office, that he pardoned hundreds of violent criminals who they claimed were protesting at the Capitol on January 6th. And I guess Alina Habba, who represented Donald Trump throughout the criminal defense, or on the legal team throughout all that, has changed her tune. And she's very up in arms now, I guess, about people protesting around government facilities. It's hard to take very seriously, setting even aside the political issues and the legal merits, which will get resolved. But, you know, this is an administration that has really played selectively with the law, not just in terms of, like, targeting potentially certain types of legal doctrines, but, you know, Trump has been pardoning people left and right. People with access to the administration, political allies, people who were supporters, and yet for something like this, where there's it's very unclear what actually happened based on what I've seen in terms of the video. So, but I don't have any reason to dispute that. Yeah. But the idea that they would devote sort of resources to this, it does suggest that they want to make a point and that they want to sort of potentially sort of tamp down this sort of opposition.
You know, it's not unusual, frankly, for sitting elected officials to have a run-in with the federal government and be arrested if they've done something, right? There are countless examples of that. This is an example of where the government did not like what Ras Baraka, it looks like, was saying, did not appreciate the presence of the members of Congress, and the situation was escalated and it got out of hand, and we all saw it. It's on video camera, everything like that. The government had the opportunity to de-escalate the situation today. He had to go to court because they arrested him. They could have said, and we are sorry, we're all here, Judge, we don't want anything else to do with this. The government has intentionally escalated this situation by saying there is going to be a trial. Alina Habba said there is going to be a trial. And what concerns me most about all of this is the government has a lot of leeway. Who is going to check the checker? Right now, it's the courts trying to check the checker. And even today, they were like, well, dang, you trying to, we don't really, how can it get to us? The Supreme Court. So I am actually very concerned about the fact that it really does feel like that the government can do a lot to you. And there is little recourse that we have. If Ras Baraka was not the mayor of Newark, I fear for what would have actually happened. Because there are lots of people that were snatched off the street that the government said did something, but they haven't actually charged them with anything or have no proof, and they're still sitting in jail today.
That's right. And I think it's really important for us to make this clear. And I heard it in committee yesterday. Secretary Noem, Chairman Green attempted to make HSI the victims, right? They went as far as saying that one member of Congress body slammed someone. Show me footage that shows that happening. There is no footage. But they think that if they make all this up and they repeat it, it becomes truth. And it means that instead of questioning what they're doing, that they're terrorizing, persecuting communities, deporting United States citizen children, the idea they're dragging families out of their home, they want to make sure that you see what they're doing as heroic. It's all intentional strategy to dismantle the Constitution and to get away with everything they possibly can. And just think about that. I mean, for us members of Congress, for me, who is a daughter of immigrants, who half my family is still undocumented, watching that footage and see how they turn it around and twist it is attempting to send a message to members of Congress: you shut up. You don't get to speak up. There is just one branch of government, and it's the executive one. It should scare everyone.
And I think the House Speaker's made that clear by abdicating his authority, quite honestly, at critical times. I think the other side of this, in terms of, we talk about what happened with the mayor and the rationale that they're positing for what they're doing, going after him. Oh, body slam somebody and all that crazy. We know that's all crazy, folks. So just, play along. All right. We know it's crazy. But then I want to understand, Ankush, what the indictment is alleging Judge Dugan did. A, confronting members of an ICE task force and falsely telling them they needed a judicial warrant to effectuate the arrest of Eduardo Flores Ruiz. B, upon learning that they had an administrative warrant for EFR's arrest, directing all identified members of the ICE task force to leave the location of the planned arrest and go to the chief judge's office. That's what she is alleged to have done. Could you, from your experience in our judicial system and working through it and understanding how indictments are put together and the crux of the law that's been violated, and could you point out where there is a violation of law, federal law, that require taking a judge off the bench and prosecuting her for something? Yeah,
I mean, Eve, look, so they're just allegations, right? That's important to say. We have not heard the other side, and we shouldn't just simply take the government's word on this. But let's just assume the allegations are materially correct. There would be potential efforts to sort of interfere with a federal arrest, but this is not the sort of thing that you would expect to be escalated in this way in the ordinary course. In fact, there were similar kind of events during the first Trump administration that didn't end up with any judge or anyone else going to prison or anything like that. So it is what we would describe as sort of overcharging, bringing a sort of a heavy hammer down on a case that doesn't really warrant it. Sometimes that is done, and it appears it is being done in this case to make a point, to sort of create some form of deterrence. Right. And it can be justified on those grounds. In this particular case, it doesn't seem like a particularly strong factual basis for the indictment. They got an indictment returned so that, a grand jury evidently signed off on it. But it remains to be seen what the presiding judge or the jury will think about it.
You have to prove it.
You got to prove it.
We're not getting into it today, but there's lots of conversation about the Diddy trial. And, the government is saying Diddy did all of these things, and they have to prove it. They're not saying that he was a domestic violence, he committed domestic violence, was an abuser. He's copped to that. Probably they should have said that, but they're saying all these other things they have to prove. The government can put whatever they want in a document. They can write it down. That doesn't make it true. They have to prove it. And my concern is that this is a government under this Trump administration. They're just willing to go through links and say anything.
Well, especially, Congresswoman, because right now we're talking about people who are public people and do have a modicum of power, members of Congress, a judge, a mayor of a major American city. What happens to the 19-year-old in Georgia who gets pulled over because they misidentify her car and then ends up in detention?
That's exactly right. I mean, we have oversight authority. That's how we do checks and balances. It's what we're doing. And if they're going after us, what in fact happens to the 19-year-old? What happens to that mother who has a green card and is carrying her child, and all of a sudden they say that she's undocumented, they detain her, and because they're not doing due diligence, because they're claiming administrative error when they get caught, they end up deporting her. I mean, you had Secretary Noem in committee yesterday say that she did not deport the United States citizen child, that the mother chose to take the child with her. Show me the proof that is the case. And why was the father not part of that decision?
And why did she not have legal counsel in the room with her when she was signing those
That's
papers?
exactly right. They are fabricating lies to our face, attempting to get away with everything. And those of us, the courts and Congress, who are supposed to be co-equal branches of government to hold checks and balances, they're targeting us or persecuting us because they believe if they can silence us, then we move from democracy